In today's episode of HR Visionaries, we talk to Kitti from Operatix. We talk about her incredibly interesting journey from luxury hospitality to recruiting. Stay tuned. Welcome to HR Visionaries, where we unlock the secrets of modern HR. I'm Benjamin, your host. Join us as we shed light on today's HR universe with HR leaders and innovators from across the globe. Whether you're an HR pro, a business leader, or just curious about the future of work, this is your shortcut to the forefront of HR innovation. Brought to you by Hire, the AI talent attraction platform. Welcome to the latest episode of HR Visionaries. I'm very much looking forward to my guest today, Kitti. It's great to have you.
Thank you so much for having me, Ben.
Kitti, can you tell us a bit about yourself? Who are you?
Absolutely. Well, thank you again for the opportunity. So my name is Kitti Toth. I work for Operatix as a head of talent acquisition. And my job is to run the recruitment team and all aspects of recruitment covering our EMEA region here at Operatix, from sourcing up until offering. And I work in collaboration with our US team as well at Memory Blue. These are my main responsibilities.
Head of talent acquisition is your job now. What have you done before that?
Absolutely. I've got an interesting career, to be honest with you. I graduated back in Hungary in tourism and hospitality. I have a bachelor degree and I moved to London about 11 years ago. So I started my career in hospitality, given my education. So I worked in luxury hospitality, in luxury hotels to start with. And I started really from the bottom of like being a waitress, as is obviously my first opportunity. And as years passed, I also went up in the career ladder as such, and I was given an opportunity to become an event organizer. From there, by luck, I was an opportunity to go into HR. So I started working as an HR coordinator, and that was my first experience to HR and recruitment. So I become a recruitment consultant after that in the hotel industry. So I worked for hotels. And due to relocation and career change, I came across Operatix about 5 years ago. So I joined here as a internal recruiter to start with. And then after that, I was obviously given the opportunity to become a team manager, and I was able to expand my team as well, which was a great opportunity. So I had no tech background before, very much hospitality driven. However, I feel like there is so many similarities between the two industries when it comes to recruiting in hospitality as well as in tech sales, because you're pretty much looking for people who are resilient and, driven, and that's what you're looking for in both industries. So I was very much able to imply my knowledge from there. But yeah, this is my short background as such.
Well, you mentioned a super interesting topic, resilience. So in a job in hospitality, in sales, one has to deal with many people. One has to deal with also frustrating situations, things you can't do anything about, but you just have to present it to your client, and you need to be very resilient. Can you tell us a bit about how do you test people for resilience?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, in terms of us, when it comes to our selection process, we have quite a thorough selection process when it comes to this role. We are great believer not going through by experience and CV. Of course, if someone has the relevant experience, we that's great. That's an additional plus on their application. However, we more like looking for people with the right skill set, and one of them is resilient. When it comes to testing resilience, I think the best way for us testing it, we have a 3-stage interview process. Throughout every stage, we test with different questions. However, I think the biggest test for us, at the last stage, we do a role play call exercise with all of our candidates as such. So we will give them a dummy script where they would need to pitch as a dummy client as such. And we put through them like a fake or mock call and give them really hard objections and see how they tackle them. We, of course, send them lots of information to prepare before, but that's, I guess, our biggest test for resilience. How do they take that call on that mock call?
How would I master this call ideally?
How would you master in terms of what would be the best outcome, or how would you for it?
How would I prepare? What kind of questions do you ask? How did you set this up?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think when it comes to the whole process from the first, so just to touch on how we do it in here. So we have a 3-stage interview process. We start with a screening call with a recruiter. So as a recruiter, we also test them. We ask them about their experience when it comes to cold calling. If they don't have a relevant experience, then we ask them, have you ever had to, deal with objections from, let's say, university studies, when you had to, let's say, prove your thesis or anything like that? How did you handle objections? How did you handle all of, setbacks as such? So we try to find relevant experience for that. And then after that, we do a video interview with the hiring manager. And then they also ask questions about, how would you handle if the client says no? But when it comes to the role play, what we do, this is the last stage. So when someone gets through, we send them a document that prepares them for the script. So there is a script or like information on the campaign, the dummy campaign that they will be selling. But also we highlight the pain points that you will be facing when it comes to the prospect on the phone. So these are the benefits of the solution. These are the potential pain points that your client would be facing. So that's one you can refer to. So we send them quite a lot of information to prepare, and some certain questions that probably, we call them, we tell them that, you probably tell you that I don't have time, I don't have the budget, or I'm not interested. So how would you deal with these objections as such? So we give them preparation, but I think it's also comes down to the candidate's due diligence and preparation as such. So, they have to study the script, they have to be well aware of what they're selling, but also I think their ability to turn that conversation around and think on their feet as such, and trying to convince them to take the meeting.
So as you mentioned, cold calling is it's an area that is very important to most sales organizations. However, at the same time, it's also very, very tough. I might even say, hiring people for cold calling might be one of the hardest hires at all.
Yeah, it's not an easy job to do, and I think for us the most important thing in here is that transparency. We're very honest about the role. We never oversell the role. We don't tell them that this is an account management role. There is some aspect to it, but it's very much cold calling driven. And I think being transparent from the get-go, it's clear for everyone what you're signing up for. And lots of people enjoying it. And I think Operatix, we are a great example of people coming into our business with or without experience. They're doing this role for a few years, and they either progress with us or they're kind of going into the next opportunity. This is something that we support very much in the business, because let's be honest, not everyone wants to stay in cold calling forever. Lots of people come into tech sales because it's a very lucrative industry, and we are probably one of the best places to work with him, because you get exposed to, we work with about 200 different clients. They all sell different technologies, and our employees, they get to know all of these technologies. So when they come to the time when they're ready to move on, either with us or externally, they have that vast knowledge of technology sales and the experience of tackling these objections. So they're well trained in the industry, and that's why we see so many success with our alumni and our employees currently going to work for vendors as well. So yes, it's not an easy job to do, and it's not for everyone, but I think transparency from the start is very important. And also, of course, we do quite a lot of training with them. We have sales enablement coaches in the business whose job is to train them from the start, work with them as a mentor, and really prepare them for the possible objections, and practice, do dummy calls. And of course, when they do their calls, they can always go back to the sales enablement coach and be like, hey, I've got this objection. What would you say? What would you do? So I think it's a combination of a few things, but also we need the candidate to be willing to take that job and willing to not to take no for an answer. If they have that mentality, end of the day, they only need to do one call a day that will be successful, and they're on track with their target.
Well, Kitti, if I may, so when you're hiring people for SDR roles, there's probably lots of pressure from the business side. So they can only increase revenue when they have more sellers. At the same time, you just said, you need to be transparent. You don't want to oversell. That maybe also a position where you need to balance many different topics and need to make sure, well, you don't oversell to candidates. However, you also need to deliver that business can make money.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think our sales team is doing a really good job in terms of selling the value of our SDRs. Every single client and campaign is different when it comes to what they want from us. So obviously there is no same campaign. There is different options that we run. But when it comes to, you know, finding the right people, we know what campaigns are coming in and we're looking for the right experience. There are campaigns that, let's say, a little bit more inbound driven. So we are able to put people in there who relevantly, let's say, not have the experience of working in tech sales for 3 to 5 years, but they uni graduates and they have that all the skills that we're looking for. They're hungry to work on a campaign like that they're perfect candidate. But also sometimes we have clients who come in with a more complex solution than that they would require someone with the experience. And then of course we would, as a recruitment team, we go out and find those experienced candidates. And when it comes to experienced candidate, they've been doing this for 3 to 5 years. They know what they're signing up for. That's what they do. That's what they best at. They just execute it. When it comes to obviously more junior candidates, it's more about a bit hand holding and guiding them through the experience. So I think it's a combination of the two, but our sales team is doing a great job in terms of being very transparent with the client as well, what we can do for you. And, you know, so far the company has been really successful. So I would say we're definitely delivering on both aspects of the situation as such.
Well, when talking to SDRs, it's probably also quite challenging because good SDRs, well, good sellers can sell themselves very well, right? So,
yes.
So therefore, you kind of need to make sure, hey, do we understand this person right? Can we well, look beneath the surface and find out what this person is really all about? At the same
Yes.
time, if he or she is a very good salesperson, perhaps, well, not overselling, but selling aggressively, that's exactly the person you want.
Yes and no. I mean, sometimes you can have people interviewing amazingly. They do extremely well. You know, they're salespeople. They sell themselves. They're fantastic. And let's say they go through all the 3 stages and they kind of get into the role, and for various reasons, they might not work out. Of course, we always want to work with them and make sure, you know, we're finding the issues and help them along the journey. But as you said, I think when it comes to an interview, we are interviewing them. They also interviewing us as such as a business. But I think when it comes to interviewing salespeople, it's not just about ticking the boxes and asking questions. It's asking the questions in a way to understand their experience, their curiosity about the business. Because I'm a great believer, when someone applies for a job, they need to be really interested in this job. They need to do their research and showcase it to us. Why do you want to join? What did you like about this position? And sometimes, you know, we face that people like, oh, I applied for so many roles. I haven't done my research. That's, you know, a big red flag for us. Is like, you know, we take our time to look at your CV, then you look at our profile as well, and let's, you know, get prepared for this call. So I think when it comes to finding the right salespeople, it's a combination of experience, combination of skills, but also, yeah, sometimes people can sell themselves really well and not always work out, but most of the times it is. So yeah,
it's kind of a natural reaction, right? So it's like, hey, you guys are looking for a great salesperson. So first impression I can give you is, well, I'm an amazing salesperson in selling myself, and you guys need me much more than I do need you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think in terms of like, the good thing about us that we do obviously 3 stages with 3 different people. Whereas obviously I might think that someone is a great salesperson and they do really well on a phone call, but they go into an interview with hiring managers and let's say they're a little bit more tough on them. There is more pressure. And then we can see certain areas that needs improvement. And then they go into a role play call with a 3rd person, and we can combine 3 opinions together. And if they're all matching, that's great. We have a hire. But sometimes actually we see that I think someone is a great person because ticked all the boxes over the phone. But when it comes to the other 2 stages, they're a bit like, okay, well, there's areas that I felt like there was improvement. What we do in here, we actually give them, after the interview, we give them feedback that these were the areas that we felt like there is improvement needed. Even on the role play call, normally our managers, they do 2 rounds off in 2 rounds of the call. So we give them, first they have a go at the pitch. And then after that, we give them feedback. This is what we like, this is what we don't like. Do you want to do it again? And we see how they take the feedback on board. And based on that, we can see how they implement it. And then, after that, we see how they do for the second round, which is, I think, a great way of seeing how can they take feedback on board, but also for the candidate as well to have a second chance and get that feedback that's required.
Recalling from own experiences, I think when it comes to role plays, it's sometimes, some role plays are, borderline ridiculous, and also, if I may say, a bit stupid. Other role plays are, amazingly thought through, and therefore you as an applicant can see the benefit. It can see, okay, I'm treated with lots of respect, given if it's like a rather weird, ridiculous case study or role play. One might also feel, okay, seriously, am I taken serious here at all? How did you develop the role plays and the case studies?
Good question. So actually, we make them pitch one of our previous clients. There isn't a very easy solution. It's a very innovative solution that a client that we have worked in the past, where they sell a very good product for an area that hasn't been really tapped into. So it's a very easy solution to sell. So basically, we developed a role-play case study document that actually looks exactly the same as a pitch would, or like a role-play, or like a pitch, like a real pitch would look like. And then what we also do, we tell them that the prospect that you will be calling, we actually call the prospect John Christ, is obviously is a made-up name. So we will tell them who will be the prospect that you will be speaking to, and we give them information that John went to certain universities. This is John's previous experience. This is John's personal interest, like he's a previous football coach and so on. So we give them these informations to be able to personalize the conversation. And then, of course, there is a little script underneath as well, to kind of like give them an idea of how should you start the conversation and what are the main points that you want to come across. So I think it's quite good to combine all of this, because we don't just tell them like, okay, come here and sell me a pen, because that's such a horrible way of assessing someone, skill set, and then such old fashioned as well. So for us, we very much like, you send them lots of information, even the website of the product. So do your preparation on your product. This is your person that you will be speaking to. Personalize the conversation, and this is like a dummy script that you can use for your own benefit. So I think there is lots of information provided. One thing that we started doing as well, beside the cold calling or the role play call, we also asked them to send us a cold email. This is something we haven't done in the past. We started doing in the past 2 years, I would say, and it's a great way of like us seeing their written skill set. But also, I think sometimes nowadays, people don't always like to take a phone call. Everybody is on LinkedIn. So lots of engagement actually happening on LinkedIn. So we want to see how would they approach someone in a LinkedIn message, because sometimes, probably yourself as well, I get 100 LinkedIn messages a day about someone trying to sell me something.
Really?
I do.
It's ridiculous.
I know. It's insane. So I think we want them to be different to others. And then we can see how their writing skills is and how creative in that email. That's also a good way of assessing them. But yeah, I mean, I'm probably one of those persons who never reads the LinkedIn messages, because I have about 50 unread for people trying to sell me recruitment services, which is, everyone has to do their best to find new clients. But yeah, you can get outdated with them a little bit.
What I like the most is that you can mute those conversations. So that's actually.
Oh, can you? Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's incredibly useful. So it doesn't pop up and it doesn't disturb you. So it's an amazing function that LinkedIn provides. Just to
I'll have to take a look.
Indeed, because they will then bother you like 4 or 5 times, and you can immediately switch to mute. Everything you say, it sounds to me like you're working very, very closely with with your business team, with the sales team.
Yes.
So giving you the chance to dive very deep into the actual matter that you can assess salespeople from an HR perspective.
Absolutely. I mean, we work together with our team. We have an operation team who manages campaigns and employees in the business. And we also have an inside sales team who brings business for Operatix as such. So we work all together in a partnership, which is a great way of like assessing what we do and what we need to bring on. Because obviously our sales team will tell us, we normally have a weekly meeting about campaigns coming in, clients coming in, and we understand the aspect of the campaign so we can match the right people. And then operation would tell us, okay, I would need to hire this many people and that many people in the business. So it is a really good way of communicating so we can all be in the know. And then after, normally it's on a Wednesday what we do. So we obviously, us as a team, so myself, I would assess what we need to do, and I would build up a recruitment plan for us to go and source those roles. So we work obviously in a collaboration, myself and my team, and we basically come up with our plan, how to recruit these roles. Some roles we have really good interest, so most of our roles are come from inbound interest, people applying to our roles. But there are certain roles when it comes to, let's say, a specific language. Recently, we needed to recruit a Danish speaker, which is, in the UK, you would probably think there's a few, but it's not that many people, in the UK who would speak Danish and also have B2B sales experience. So we need to do more like a headhunting plan for that. So I would execute it and tell my team to do that. I would assign someone to do it. And then this way we work in a really good collaboration. Of course, we have ad hoc roles, people sometimes leaving, and we need to find other people more quicker. But I think, we have a well-clogged machine too. Is it a way to say? I'm not too sure. Well-oiled machine to fill the roles that we need.
Kitti, since in talent acquisition there are of course ups and downs. Can you tell us a bit about your experience from the last several years? Of course, not in every industry, but in most industries, 2023 was a rather difficult year. 2022, 2021 were kind of crazy years in many industries. Talent acquisition is, of course, the area where you feel almost at the pain, but where you feel where you feel change the earliest. Perhaps it's the best way.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think we have a great example of that. So back in 2021 and 2022 as well, from talent acquisition point, we have been hiring on average probably about 15 to 20 employees a month. That's quite a lot of employees to be hired. And most of that was for business expansion. Of course, there's a normal amount of retention as well, but most of our employees came from new business expansion. Then when it comes to 2023, the number dropped down to that kind of 5 to 7 people a month. So as you can see, it was because of the hardship of that 2023 and companies not spending that much money on external sales services, which slowed us down as well. So that was a challenging year for us. Now we see that it's kind of picking up and we are bringing in more people, new businesses coming in, and it's also picking up. But last year was really difficult. There was certain months, especially in the summer months when it's quite quiet for us, we actually had no new starters in certain months because there wasn't many business coming in. The company still done really well. We weren't deficit at all. And we will still be able to maintain, the profit and the success of the company. But there had to be some changes, within the company to be sustainable. And, we had to slow down our recruitment efforts as well.
Does it make sense in talent acquisition to, let's say, front run a bit, for lack of a better word? So when other people are slow in hiring, well, of course, one shouldn't increase the cost base too much, but there are sometimes great opportunities, great people to go for.
Absolutely.
Is that some kind of a strategy that makes sense?
Yeah, it does. And I'm a great believer of that. So when we had those slower months where there was no actual need, my team and we still carried on speaking to people and identifying those talents. Because especially it was great for the summer month because when we came across some talents, they were on holiday, annual leave, and they were actually looking for opportunities mainly from September anyway. So what we have done as a team, we kept carrying on speaking to people, keeping ourselves busy, identifying the talents, and actually we built up a really good talent pool that we could reach out to later on. when it comes to the opportunity. And we have seen, and we carry on doing that as well. Now we are more busier and we have obviously more of a live role requirements, but we actually were able to hire quite a lot of people from our previously identified talent pool, a bunch of people. And when it comes to the time that we had opportunities, they were ready to come on board with us. And I think it's identifying them, but also after keeping in touch with them on a regular basis to check up with them where they are with your career journey as well, which is important.
Since our podcast is HR Visionaries, I'm also wondering, of course, what's your perspective on future developments, in particular in the TA space? So, what do you picture? How will TA look like in, let's say, 5 years?
Yeah, interesting question. I think one topic that everyone talks about and something that we can't not talk about is AI, and how would that implicate, but how would that kind of work with us in partnership? Ourselves, we also looked at different AI tools of making our life easier, and I think AI is great. I think if you use it in a great way to support you and benefit you, then I mean, maybe I'm delusional. I don't have a fear it will take my role over and I will have no opportunities to work. But I feel like AI can be super beneficial for any businesses. We looked at different tools. So as Operatix, as I mentioned, we get many applications for our roles. So we actually looked at a company who provides an AI tool of assessing people and their CVs. So our recruiters have spent quite a lot of time reading through CVs and reading people's experience. And actually there's an AI tool that can assess those CVs based on the criteria that you want them. So that would make our life much quicker, easier. And, the recruiters will have more time to do in-depth conversations with the candidate and identifying them. We still want to have the human element of speaking to people, but solutions like a CV screening solutions, or not even CV screening, but let's say a skill assessment solution, not just the assessment that they do, at the moment you can still do like a skill assessment test, but it's like based on certain elements that are pre-decided by someone else. But this is the solution that we looked at. It was also analyzing video messages and building a score based on that. And I think that's incredible. I think something like that would be super beneficial for us when we are very much like a fast-paced recruitment company or recruitment side business as such.
Well, I think I think one should also think about AI as well, as you just said, as as an opportunity to take away those tasks we don't like. So I recently saw statistics that in particular in the HR space and in the TA space, many people are burned out because you're taking up a job that where the component where you basically act as a salesperson, where you act as an admin person, it takes up more and more every day it increases in terms of time spent on these tasks. However, that's not something you signed up to, and therefore removing those tasks to be done by an AI is, I think, in everyone's interest indeed.
Absolutely. I think years ago when I had a few people join my team here at Operatix, I've done a training session for them, and I found this little article about what a recruiter is. And basically there was different elements of recruiter is a salesperson, a matchmaker, a psychologist, and also an admin person. So there's so many aspects that we do in here in recruitment. So I think when it comes to beneficial AI solutions like that, actually helps you with that nitty-gritty of looking at CVs. Yes, I'm all for it. I do think that I don't know what will happen in 5 years, but I do think that it still has to have that human element of speaking to people, because yes, a machine can assess so many things. But I think when you speak to that individual and you have a conversation with them, you have that feel of if they're a right fit or not. So I think hopefully it will still be a very much relevant fact for us to assess them.
Indeed, I think the human element will be is super super beneficial, and one can see it in so many areas. So where automation has kicked in several years ago, it enabled people to focus on the human element, to focus on personal conversations rather than spending time the ATM enabled us to
Exactly.
withdraw money, and people could focus more on, well, how can I be financially independent, and how can I find the suiting solutions for us. So that's, I think, an interesting example when we talk about automation. Kitti, I have one last question for you. So I sometimes ask my guests, so if they had a question they would like me to ask a future guest, so what would be something you would be interested in?
Interesting question. I think I would be interested to know about other companies and their approach to remote working and hybrid working. I'll tell you that question why. Because I feel like obviously during COVID, everyone was a remote worker, and I feel like it opened up no borders, people to work anywhere in the world and giving that flexibility. However, since in the past 2 years, I see the trend of businesses wanting people coming back to the office, whereas from candidates and employees, what I can actually see, they enjoy the fact of being able to work remotely or in a hybrid element. So I would love to know about, from your next guest, their approach to hybrid working and remote working, and how, and do they see that it kind of going to go back to the trend of working in office? And if it does, why? Or do they still have the flexibility to work remotely and allow the employees to work remotely as well?
Okay, I have another question then. So in particular in sales, I find it really interesting, from own experience as well. Well, in fact, you can work everywhere. So even if you decide to live in Australia, you could work at night and work from Australia, serving clients in the UK. At the same time, well, when you are in one room, there might be also some dynamics. There might be also some dynamics around this. When you see, okay, my coworker is really successful applying a certain strategy, not lying to clients, but just like in a way how they potentially discuss what kind of topics they raise, and therefore, there's this learning element and this competition element. Is that something you think is there, or can this also work well from home?
Yes, I think there is benefits to both. So from our approach, obviously during COVID, all of us went to work remotely, and then basically enabled us to, prior to COVID, we were recruiting in our location, where is our office. Everyone was in office. So it kind of limited us to recruit people in the area where we live. It didn't allow us to grow in a space we wanted to. So when we actually went remote, we were able to hire anywhere in the UK. And that where it started for us to be hiring 20 people, 25 people a month, which was fantastic. So for us to maintain the growth and finding the right talent, we still want to have the remote element. So if we come across someone, we are in Fleet in Hampshire, is southeast of England. Let's say we come across someone in Scotland, they're fantastic. We will not hire them because they're based in Scotland. We still want to work with them. So we still have the remote element. However, we are now wanting people who are local come back to the office a little bit more, because, as you said, being in the office, being around your peers, hearing them on the phone, having that natural competition, and also having the opportunity to go to your managers and ask for feedback face to face can go a long way. So I think for us, we are in a phase of wanting to bring people back in the office who are local, and also encouraging our remote employees to come, let's say, once a quarter. But for us to kind of finding the right talent and maintain the growth that we want to do, we still have to have the remote element. So we are in that happy medium, I would say. And of course, we are a global company. So we have our North American team, as well as we have an APAC team who work in the Philippines and Singapore as well. So we are a global company, people all around the world. So we will still have that element. But I think from our side, yes, we do want people to come back, because it's a great atmosphere to be together. And, sometimes we come at the moment, we do twice in the office and 3 days from home, which is great. We do a hybrid element. And I think, my favorite days when I come to the office and catch up with everyone are more productive at home, I would say, because you get your head down and you do whatever you have to do. But it's great to socialize and see others.
Perfect. Kitti, thank you so much. It was super interesting to learn how you conduct interviews, how you conduct the role plays. Thank you so much. It was lovely talking to you.
Thank you so much for having me as well.
And thank you so much for listening in, and see you next time.